Kia ora everybody, my name's Rota Rota. A fighter that trains here at Whangarei Boxing, who's a part of the Fight for Hope event here in November 16th in Whangarei. So throughout my upbringing, bro, you know, my father's always been into boxing. My uncle Charlie Dunn was a New Zealand champion back in the early 70s. And when we were kids, he sort of pretty much got on his knees and taught us the fundamentals of boxing, as well as when we didn't listen, you know, he kicked our asses from time to time. Then pretty much from there, it wasn't until years later, as I came of age, around about through to my teens, to my early 20s, I moved to Whangarei, and I was walking through town one day, and it was during the period of my life where I was down and out. You know, I was suffering from depression, from anxieties, from lack of confidence, and I walked past a gym just down here behind Mackenzie in Whangarei, and it said Whangarei Boxing Gym. I knocked on the door and it pretty much started from there. Of you know, progressing forward for myself as a boxer and as a fighter, and you know, just finding the confidence, you know, building confidence in myself to be the best version of myself. So that's sort of where boxing started for me, and just over time I trained at Whangarei Boxing for a number of years, about 3, 4, about 5 years or so, and had a number of amateur fights, corporate events, corporate fights, charity events, all up, about 11 fights all up, and then I met a girl. No, and her name was hip hop. Yeah, so my two passions in life has always been, you know, keeping fit, keeping well, mentally well, physically well, through boxing. Keeping fit, but also keeping a balance where, you know, sometimes that's not usually the case in terms of you need two sides. You know, there's the side of male and the side of female, and I needed the side of female, and that was hip hop for me, so I became a rapper. I started indulging myself in being the best at what I could do as a MC, and I got pretty good. And evidently we ended up forming a group called Naughty North Movement back in the day. So you know, now we're not around, we're still around, just not around sort of thing. I've come back into boxing after 5 years, and I heard I was approached by a couple of people to participate in this event for Fight for Hope. And the overall co-proper surrounds suicide awareness, and that pretty much hit home for me. So within Northland and Te Tai Tokerau, Whangarei in particular, you know, over the last probably 5 years, the suicide rates have just skyrocketed through young people, you know, from 16 years and up. Recently, about a couple of months back, I went to 5 funerals. Didn't know the people, just knew that they had committed suicide, and their families were affected by it. So I thought to myself, and like most whānaus out there, most families, you know, we do have you know, people in our whānaus that have had suicidal thoughts, tendencies, and actually acted on it, where evidently they have taken their lives. And you know, I just wanted to get the message out there that, you know, if me being, you know, once upon a time suicidal myself, I wanted to get the message out to be a part of this event, fight for something that's, you know, purposeful, that's for reason, that everybody can relate to, because when it comes down to suicide, you know, people only, especially the general public, they only tend to talk about it when it happens. And, you know, and suicide usually surrounds depression, anxieties, uncontrollable anxieties, you know, and having the fear of unable to have the courage to just go out there and ask for help, because it ain't that easy. And I'm only just talking from my experiences, but if anyone's out there that's watching, you know, I'm sure they'll be able to relate. So that was a big thing for me, being a part of this event, and you know, utilising my skills and strengths throughout my boxing path to do it the right way. So yeah, it's something that I've always wanted to do. And coming back to Whangarei, you know, I'm doing it for these whānaus out there that have lost loved ones to suicide. I'm doing it for those who don't have the courage to speak up and speak out. The fight is here in Whangarei, Kensington Stadium, November 16th. And weigh-in is at Distinction Hotel, which is on the other side of Riverside, there in Whangarei. And from 4 p.m. onwards till late, whenever. So there's, you know, fights from kids all the way through to adults. And come support your boy. Suicide awareness, fight for hope.
For some inspiration, listening to the rain drip. Once again, shit, I'm always looking to the sky. There ain't a metaphor for wishing I was high. More like switching up this life that I'm living. I say shit all the